Look at all this loot! DJ, none for you! Welcome back, I'm Captain Xavier, and I am a shameless fan of getting free stuff. Don't actually remember if this was free, but I'm pretty sure all this stuff was free. But I'm a much bigger fan of getting to review things made by members of our hobby for our hobby. And what we have here are items that are sold by Out of Darts. I don't know if he designed them himself or if he just licenses and sells them, but these are items that he has available on his shop, outofdarts.com, link in the description, of course, for the Nexus Pro, since that was the big, awesome blaster that was released this year that everyone is wild about, and deservedly so, because it's fantastic. But there were a couple of minor, things that people complained about, little things that were design choices or oversights or what have you, depending on how you want to look at it. First one was this rail adapter. A number of people, myself included, did not much care for this drop in the barrel here. A full top rail is much more aesthetically pleasing, in my opinion. And enough people agreed that there was enough of a market for this to be designed. It just slides over the top rail, lines up with the top rail. It's all Picatinny rail. And I definitely like that look so much better. Makes your sights line up, makes everything much more svelte. Another complaint was the lack of sling mounts. There obviously was kind of a sling mount right here. You could hook a sling into that, but there wasn't one on the handle like you see in a lot of Nerf blasters, or there wasn't any anywhere else. And this being a primary is something you would generally have a sling on. So there is this. It is a 3D printed part. It is screwed on just using a hex nut, and it goes onto the back of the buffer tube and gives you a pair of sling loops. And it is ambidextrous, which I appreciate greatly. You could put a 2-point sling or a single-point sling on either side. It would work great. Now, it does mean you cannot collapse the stock all the way anymore. There should be a little bit further that could go in, but unless you had really short arms, that should not really be a problem. If you do, they do make shorter stocks out there. Obviously, this one could be, considerably shorter, but I like that it gives you the sling mount right there, because that is where I prefer it. I don't like the ones on the handle, and I don't like having it in the stock, and I definitely don't like 2-point ones. Having the single point right there is my preferred option. Though you could, of course, have, if you like the 2-point, you could get a sling mount for the rail and use the back one or two. There's lots of different ways, but that is definitely very neat. They also do have this, which is a scar barrel that inserts into the original barrel, because these do have, a barrel insert that can be put in there. This can simply get pushed in right into the end, and it gives you rifling. It makes it a little bit more accurate, and it is just friction fit. You can pull it right back out again, and it is pretty train. It is also pretty nifty. I'm going to leave it out for now because I'm not going to be doing the range tests today because it's damp and cold and dim. But I will be doing the FPS tests, which is what we have here, finally. These are replacement end caps. One of the really cool things about the Nexus is how easy it is to swap the spring. Normally there'd be a screw in here, but I've taken it out. But you take the screw out of the cap, pull, twist the cap, and out comes your main spring. And if you have a replacement spring, you can simply slide it in and you're done. So it doesn't have the full teardown feature that the Nexus Pro had, but that's really the only bit you need to get to in a hurry, and they made it so easy. It's absolutely amazing that it just cap off, pop, and you're done. But what that meant is that by changing this part, you could change the FPS of the blaster. So Out of Darts has 3 options. A 100 FPS option, and the FPS is printed on the back. I don't know how you're going to be able to see it on camera, but it's printed into there. 130 and 175. And they function simply by changing the pre-compression on the spring. I believe stock is generally around 150. I will be testing them, but they also simply go in and twist on. In this case, it has no pre-compression at all, but still no spring rattle. Ding! And it does. The prime is noticeably a little bit less. Now, If you didn't already have this preventing you from putting the stock in all the way, it would prevent it, because it does make it a little bit longer, and so you would not be able to fully collapse the stock with the 100 on there. But if you have this, then you can't anyway, and it doesn't matter. So that doesn't lock as well as I would like, but it does hold this one nicely. Anyway, the next one, the 130, has just a little bit of pre-compression, but not as much as the stock one does. You can see it's still a little bit longer, but as you can see, there is some pre-compression there. And then finally, the 75 has a great deal of pre-compression. It compresses it all the way up into here, and so increases the FPS considerably, and the prime is again noticeably heavier, and it's got some power. So let's see if I can get this out of here without springing it, because pre-compression. We will start with the lowest setting and work our way up. I'm just going to fire 5 darts with each of them through my chronograph here and let you all know what kind of numbers I'm getting. I have some brand new, freshly opened, ain't never been sniffed Pro Darts. Tactical Strike Pro Darts. And we will give them each 5 rounds and see what kind of a range we're getting, if they're even remotely close or if they're just all over the place, what have you. Here we go. So, this should be the 100 FPS. We'll see what we actually get. 72, 109, 75, we're all over the place, 119, 113. It's weird. So we had a couple that were down on the 70s for some bizarre reason, and then a couple that were 110 plus. Alright. I will admit the weather is not the best for doing any kind of tests. We'll try the 130. See what that brings us up to. Reload. 5 rounds. Should be 130. Let's see what we actually get. We get a jam. 139. 129. 107. 134. So again, we had some outliers, but we got the increase. Let's try the stock one. What does stock give us? There we go. Stock buffer tube cap. 143. That one came out weird. 92. I missed with that one. 135, and that one came out bad. Let's try a few more. Having some glitchy issues. But I don't think those have to do with the cap. I think they're the blaster in general. There we go. 131. And that one came out weird again. Getting some weird performance issues. That seemed to be right about the same, maybe a little lower. It's weird. Alright, let's try the heavily pre-compressed one and see if we actually see the big difference there. I am a couple of feet away from my chronograph, which is not the best option, but I could move it closer. But that sounds like work. Alright, here we go. Finally, the heavily compressed. This should be getting us 175 according to the documentation. Let's see what we actually get. 171. 184. 183. 153. That one, there's that outlier. And that, oh, something just sounds horrid. What is going on? Behave yourself! I'm trying to do a video. So we got 3 that were right up in there, and then we had 2 that sounded weird on the fire. I don't know if the heads are getting blown off or they're catching or what. There we go, 186. It's weird. It's weird. So that one definitely had the most noticeable difference, and that's not surprising because that has a significant amount of pre-compression. I assume it's basically as much pre-compression as you can get and still be able to prime the blaster. I might be wrong. but that looks about right. So, yeah. If you're wanting to run this at something like an HVZ, or you know, a LARP that has a lower FPS cap, then getting the lowest cap should get you down to that. The highest I got with it was 119. Most LARPs and HVZs run 120, so that would do it. That was one of the big concerns when this blaster came out, is everyone was like, well, now that this thing is, you know, that a stock blaster hits 150, shouldn't HVZs change their cap? And no, obviously not. Of course they shouldn't. The reason that cap is there is for safety. The fact that a blaster that hits harder is now available at Walmart doesn't suddenly mean that it's not still a safety concern. So no, the HVZs should not change their requirements. You just need to drop the, like, $3 or something. I don't remember how much these are, but they're very inexpensive to get this to be able to adjust it. And the fact that it requires no external modifications, no upgrades, no nothing, just swap the cap and now your blaster is good, is really, really cool. So check out the stuff that Out of Darts has for the Nexus Pro, as well as everything else. Link will be down in the description. Thanks for sending me the stuff, and thank you guys for watching.